And good morning, everyone. This is the second video on the Balkans as a powder keg for World War I. This will be about a 5-minute video, and there will be an assignment in Google Classroom for you to finish on this and the other video. So it is very important that you watch these videos and that you learn something from them. All right? So what we're going to do is we're going to analyze this political cartoon. And you have various countries represented, and they are sitting on top of a cauldron. This is a boiling pot, and it's called Balkan Troubles. We talked about what being Balkanized means. It means an area that you're geographically close to with a bunch of different people who do not share your religion. They do not share your cultural history. They do not share your language. You are divided, and politically and socially, you don't like each other. So even if you're in the same space, nationalism doesn't really work. You don't become a group, an identifiable group. You become separate groups within the country. Many are saying in the United States that it's becoming a Balkanized country, not basically somewhat along cultural and racial lines, but mostly along political lines, and that it's really tearing at the fabric of the society, that certain parts of the country were forced to live together as a nation, but the differences are becoming deeper and angrier, and it's creating a cauldron of trouble. The Balkans were worse. Right here you have different groups of people. This is Russia. Russia has ties to the Balkans because many ethnic Russians lived in Russia, and they supported Slavic people. Serbia was an ally and a rather strong independent country with a sense of nationalism, stuck in the middle and surrounded by people who didn't like them very much. So Russia is sitting right in the cauldron because they're tied to Serbia. This right here represents England. They're not close to England, but they're trying to keep the lid on top of the cauldron. If you look at him, his expression shows he's really concerned. They're also rivals of Austria, Hungary, and Germany. So England is sitting on the cauldron, and they're forced to interact with Russia, with France, with Germany, Austria, Hungary, and even though they're not close to the Balkans, they're involved. Germany, even though they're at the center of the cauldron. Why? Because they're the most powerful military force, and they're close with Austria-Hungary, who is not as strong as them, and they want to make sure that Austria-Hungary, which is really the one closest to the Balkans and is part of the Balkan area, that they keep things under control. This is Austria-Hungary. He's concerned about nationalism in the Balkans, that these independent areas are wanting to become nations, and they're part of his empire. Even though there's a real threat that the Austria-Hungary Empire will fall apart if these independent groups become nations, which is indeed what was happening and ended up happening in the aftermath of World War I. And finally, you have France, and they're standing in the background because they're not physically close, but they have concerns, and they're keeping their eye on Germany. France and Germany are rivals. Ever since the French Revolution, the French and Germans have been going at it. The Germans have the upper hand, having won the Franco-Prussian War. And France is looking at they're looking at Germany and looking at what's going on in the Balkans and hoping they can get an advantage over Germany. This is imperialism, this is nationalism, this is militarism. All three of the isms that we talked about the other day are being shown in the Balkans, and it's going to launch a war that will kill 25 million people. So now you can understand how the Balkans became the place where World War I exploded, and instead of it being a local problem between Austria and Serbia, which it was originally, it becomes a world war. I know this is a tough subject, but I still want you to have a great rougher day, because it's always a great day to be a rougher. I'll see you in class.